Welcome to another edition of Diplomatic Channel. I'm Amarachi Ubani. This week, the U.S. top diplomat Antony Blinken expected in Kyiv, making a visit to President Volodymyr Zelensky. It will be the first by any top American official since the invasion of Ukraine. That is, as we continue to monitor developments out of Kyiv. Then we revisit the UK's new migrant deal with Rwanda, which will see thousands of asylum seekers being relocated to the African country following a huge financial deposit. Joining me to discuss this will be the Rwandan High Commissioner to Nigeria, Ambassador Stanislas Kamanzi. That's Diplomatic Channel in a wrap. A quick check on those other discussions in diplomatic circles, and we'll be right back.
French President Emmanuel Macron has been re-elected in Sunday's second-round poll, beating rival Marine Le Pen by a comfortable margin. Shortly after his win, he told supporters in his victory speech, "We need to show respect because our country is so divided. No one will be left by the wayside." He also spoke about the country entering a new era, as he says he will not continue the methods of the past 5 years.
En hexagone, dans nos outre-mer, comme à l'étranger.
The UK's Prime Minister Boris Johnson and other European leaders tweeted their congratulations. Leader of Slovenia's Freedom Party, Robert Golob, has told supporters in his victory speech on Sunday that people believed that the party can bring necessary change and that work begins on Monday to justify the trust. Golob's supporters cheered loudly and embraced one another after exit poll by Median Institute showed the party leading with 35.8% of the vote, far more than expected, while the SDS had secured 22.5% of the vote. European Union President Ursula von der Leyen has congratulated India on its ambitious target of achieving 50% of energy coming from renewables by the year 2030. India, the world's third largest emitter of greenhouse gases, has pledged to cut emissions and have clean energy account for at least 40% of its installed capacity by 2030, up from 21.4% now, while looking to manage its energy appetite as its population becomes more prosperous.
I think India and the European Union have a lot in common. I've looked at your goals to have 50% of energy coming from renewables in 2030. This is a very ambitious goal. Congratulations to that. We share the idea that we really have to look into solar energy, wind energy, biomass, hydropower, green hydrogen, a big topic, geothermal. So these are the ingredients for success. I've read that the month of March was the hottest here in India since the last 122 years. And we also have the experience of the huge damage of climate change with horrible floodings, deadly floodings last summer in Europe, hurricanes in a region where we never, ever, ever had this in the European Union, but also droughts, wildfires. Protecting the environment, protecting the climate has a lot to do with innovation. This is also what we have in common. With innovation, big time, I'm deeply convinced that our world either takes the right direction in cutting emissions and protecting the environment, but then we will need clean, innovative technologies.
Finally, the Lebanese Public Works and Transport Minister Ali Hamir has visited Tripoli port after a boat carrying 60 passengers sank off the coast. He met with emergency responders near the scene, which claimed one child's life. The small dinghy which sunk off the coast on Saturday night was carrying both Lebanese and Syrians on board.
Welcome back. The U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin are both expected to make a brief stopover in the Ukrainian capital, Kyiv. It will be the highest level U.S. officials to travel to Ukraine since the Russian invasion on February 24. The U.S. has been pumping billions of dollars into weapons acquisition for Ukraine in this war, but is still refusing to put boots on the ground.
The announcement by the Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky came nearly 24 hours ago, when he said at a news conference that the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin would visit Kiev on Sunday, in what would be a risky show of support for Ukraine's defense against Russia's invasion. It was not clear if the Ukrainian president's disclosure was cleared with the Biden administration or if it would affect travel plans, but the White House made no mention of the matter. The U.S. government typically does not announce trips to active combat zones by senior officials until they are already on the ground or departing the area. It was expected to be the first visit by top U.S. officials to Ukraine since the Russian invasion on February the 24th. Back in March, Mr. Blinken briefly met with Ukraine's foreign minister at the Ukraine-Polish border. Back on the ground, Russian attacks continue, leaving behind death and destruction. Stills released by Ukraine's Azov battalion on Sunday were said to show the extent of damage in the port city of Mariupol in the northwest of the country. The aerial views taken by drone show numerous burnt-out buildings, some reduced to rubble and others badly damaged by shelling. Earlier on Sunday, Russia's defense ministry said its high-precision missiles struck 9 Ukrainian military targets overnight, including 4 armed depots in the Kharkiv region, where artillery weapons were stored. The ministry also said its missiles and artillery forces destroyed a further 4 such arms depots in the same region and hit a facility in the Dnipropetrovsk region, producing explosives for the Ukrainian army. Despite the war, Ukrainians on Sunday received Easter blessings and attended Mass in the city of Zaporizhia. The head of Ukraine's Orthodox Church asked clergy and the faithful this week to forego nighttime Easter services in areas affected by fighting, fearing Russian bombardments will continue during the Orthodox Easter period. Zaporizhia lies around 20 kilometers from the front line and has been hit by shelling in recent days. Easter service also headed Mariupol, however, at a shelled church. Churches around the world also held Easter services in solidarity with Ukraine. Pope Francis, in his message on Sunday, called for a halt to attacks in Ukraine in order to get aid to the exhausted population. He also urged leaders to listen to the voice of the people who do not want an escalation of the conflict.
Il giorno di Pasqua ripete ai suoi discepoli, pace a voi, pace a voi.
Despite the calls for peace, there appears no end in sight to a war that has killed thousands of people, uprooted millions more, and reduced cities to rubble, as the war enters its 3rd month.
A little more than a week ago, the UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson announced the country had signed a deal with Rwanda to send migrants to the East African nation. The deal, according to the UK's Home Secretary, Priti Patel, who explained further in Rwanda, where she signed the deal, and back home in Parliament, where she defended it, is a pilot plan to address Britain's refugee crisis. The plan is to send many migrants arriving in the UK across the English Channel to Rwanda, where their asylum claims can be processed. Kind of sounds like the deal the EU signed with Turkey about 5 years ago. In that EU-Turkey joint action plan, Turkey would increase border security, and Greece was promised the possibility to return all new irregular migrants to Turkey. For each irregular migrant returned from Greece, the resettlement of one registered asylum seeker from Turkey to the EU was envisaged. Most significantly, Turkey would receive 2 tranches of €3 billion in grants to support the refugees. In this instance, Britain has paid an initial £120 million for a 5-year plan and will also pay Rwanda for each migrant the African nation accepts. Sounds like a good deal, right? But there's been a lot of criticism against it. One of the strongest from the Archbishop of Canterbury, Justin Welby, which in summary can be put this way, that the deal goes against God. I won't waste any more of your time with the other criticism, but let's return now to the receiving country for answers. I have joining me the Rwandan High Commissioner to Nigeria, Ambassador Stanislas Kamanzi. He joins me from our Abuja studio. Ambassador Kamanzi, thank you for joining me on Diplomatic Channel.
Thank you very much for having me.
Let's begin with, the deal that was announced roughly 2 weeks ago. The UK unveiled a plan to send asylum seekers to Rwanda, your country, and in return, Rwanda gets an upfront payment of £120 billion. But the Rwandan government will also take responsibility for the asylum seekers, excluding children. Could you break down this deal for us?
Oh, well, you said it all, actually. It's an agreement that was reached by way of finding a solution to help asylum seekers and illegal migrants that had headed or will have been heading to the UK and could be received to have an opportunity to be transferred to Rwanda under agreed conditions. We find this as an innovative solution to the very serious crisis regarding migration, especially of migration of people from third world countries, Africa and other countries, who risk their lives going through the Sahara Desert and then through the Mediterranean, smuggled by people who are reaching themselves to the detriment of the aspirants. And in the end, we find this as a way of restoring their dignity. It's a solution offered to those eligible to have an environment where they can settle down, be empowered, and be reintegrated in active life in Rwanda, or depending on how circumstances evolve, in other places, including their own countries of origin, or in other places where they can then be eligible to go through legal procedures. So basically, that is what it is about.
So Rwanda does the processing, and then what happens after that? Will people be allowed to resettle back in Rwanda? Will they be sent to their home countries? Will they be allowed in the UK? What happens?
It depends. I think it's let's see it from a case-by-case standpoint. In the past, we have, you might be aware of the Libya crisis, when Libya, was in a situation that wasn't conducive to permitting a smooth transfer of immigrants to Europe. They were detained there in a condition that were not acceptable at all. And that time, Rwanda volunteered to have some of them to be resettled or to be transferred to Rwanda. What happened is that some of them, after some time, indeed were taken through a processing process, if I may say so, and could be accepted in other countries such as Canada, the UK itself. They had gone to, they wanted to go to France and other countries as well. So that's an option possible. The other option is that we believe that as much as we don't rank among those very rich nations, but people live a dignified life in Rwanda, and some of them might choose to be reintegrated in their own communities, be facilitated to lead a decent life, to be economically productive, and in the end also to be eligible for the Rwandan citizenship. So that's an option as well. And then these people, as I mentioned, do come from countries they were born in. All of them left for various reasons. There are who went, who left their countries because of the economic situations, socio-economic situations they thought that wasn't good for them, and they would feel like they can access greener pastures in Europe or elsewhere. Others were pushed out of their country due to conflicts, due to unstable situations. And gradually, some of those countries have come back to normalcy. I mean, those countries where conflicts prevailed. Other countries have remained the same, but due to the experience these people had to face in all the ordeals they went through, either through the desert or through the Mediterranean or where they landed, some might consider that as an experience or as lessons leading them to note that life can be lived better even where they come from. So their choice might be, let's go back home. As Rwanda as a country, for instance, agreed to go into this arrangement in the UK, countries might decide to also develop programs unilaterally or with other arrangements, we don't know, to repatriate their own, their own citizens. So that's where we say that this is an innovative solution, a contribution to solving a problem that is there, and we see how it works. We see how it works, and our wish and our hope is that everything will be work favorably for those who are concerned, but also for those who actually have been found themselves in a posture of saturation regarding accepting more and more illegal immigrants coming in.
Yeah. And I know that, much of the criticism that's been coming against Rwanda has been coming from the outside. You have charity organizations. Mm-hmm. You also have the Bishop of Canterbury criticizing not Rwanda, yes, interestingly, but criticizing the UK government, mm-hmm, for this deal, because to them, the UK is relinquishing its responsibility. But for Rwanda, why is the country, mm-hmm, doing this? I think that's the other question that is top on people's minds.
Well, doing this is that in the past, we know what these people, as the gravity of the suffering of these people. Many Rwandans have been living, unwillingly outside their country in the past, and fortunately, our recent history opened up for them to come back. So that experience has taught us to be sensitive to the problem of other people suffering what we endured in the past as well. That's one thing. But also, we're not going to claim that, we are more visionary than any other people. But our history taught us to, whenever there are problems, to lend a hand and see how they can be solved. And we also have, how do I put it, precedents of having hosted refugees in our country, helping them to, to settle down and to start, being active again, and nurture hopes within Rwanda, or whenever they think, they would think of going back to their countries. Have refugees that we receive from the neighboring neighboring countries of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Burundi. We have recently refugees coming from Afghanistan. So all those precedents actually compelled us to think that we would be able to lend a hand to help others as well.
So I'm wondering, your president has defended this deal, saying that Rwanda is not trading in human beings, and I'm wondering, why he's saying that. Have there been accusations that Rwanda is trading in human beings? Yes.
He said that against of some of those people, those critics you mentioned said, including the head of the UNHCR, who actually mentioned that was trading in, trading in human beings, which is wrong. Ironically so, this problem has been lingering with everyone witnessing it. Nobody acted. They left it to those who were concerned, who were being abused, and the receiving countries with all the problems that might involve. They witness as if a solution will come from from I don't know where. Talking about, for instance, the Archbishop of Canterbury. He's a man of God. It's important that we go beyond just the goodwill. Goodwill is good, but going into thinking about action, thinking about solutions, pragmatic solutions is even better. And for the head of UNHCR, it's just a misjudgment. And as far as we're concerned, really, we wanted to allay, the president wanted to allay any misconceptions about that being something that Rwanda went into to gain any benefits, any financial benefits or any other kind of benefits. So that's the clarification Mr. President wanted to share with the rest of the world.
Ambassador Kamanzi, we have to invite you again. Thank you so much for joining us on Diplomatic Channel,
so
answering my questions. And I believe we'll have more time to talk about relations with Nigeria in the near future. Thank you again.
Absolutely. Sure. All the best, and we stay in touch.
And this is where we end the program this week. Don't forget to join us again next week for a new edition. I am Amarachi Ubani. I'll see you next time.